Thank you, Mika. Yeah, I can't believe it's been a decade. I'm very grateful for the platform and the forum that you and Andrew have created, and it's been a privilege to be a part of it. So I called my talk, "The Era of Big Campaigns is Over," and so now what? What do I mean by that? Looking historically, political campaigns have been dominated by media, big media, broadcast media. Most of their resources are dedicated towards broadcast television, running ads around campaign-centric messages, not necessarily audience preferences. And that's really how campaigns have been run and decided for about half a century. And it's led to a race of who can spend more and who can rack up more GRPs as a strategy for winning political campaigns. But it wasn't always like that. There was a time where you made a list of people and you had a group of people go talk to them. And in the 20 years that politics has been, or digital has been a part of politics, we've largely just combined the two. We made really big lists and then broadcast a message to all of them. And two uniters of their time, in my opinion. And that strategic approach of screaming louder, blowing out your candidate and blowing out your audience as the optimal way of running political campaigns, I think is coming to an end. Today, people expect greater relevance. They demand a level of commitment. They want a level of intimacy, not only with the brands and organizations that they're choosing to give their all-important time and attention to, but it's required of these organizations. And so that's the challenge that I think anyone trying to be a communicator in the media environment that we exist in today, and that's also true of obviously political and advocacy campaigns, that's the challenge that we have to meet. And so how do we meet that challenge? I think it starts with recognizing the reality. The reality is that people are unplugging from cable television. In the last 4 years, the number of households in the US who subscribe to cable television, the epitome of one-size-fits-all media, has declined by 10%, and excuse me, that decline is continuing precipitously. At the same time, the amount of time we're choosing to consume media on a digital device now is reached to the point where it surpasses the amount of time that we spend watching television on a weekly basis. And mobile has led the way. And that trend towards a preference for mobile devices as the medium or the device that we're going to spend our time consuming media is very clear. The most important device that we will communicate on in 2014 and moving forward is not the large one in our living room, it's the small one in our hand. This proliferation of devices has also led to a lot of noise. We're all producers of content, as well as consumers and stores of that content. And globally, as a result of that, globally, between 2012 and 2016, the amount of content that we produce, store, and consume will quadruple. So how does an organization cut through that? Well, they've got one good advantage, which is the cost of producing, storing, and distributing content continues to drop considerably. It's becoming more affordable. So I often repeat these facts to some of my colleagues in politics who don't think about technology the way all of you in this room do. And they sometimes ask me a simple question. So what? What does all that mean? How does that all combine into a specific picture? And what does that really have to do with winning campaigns or running advocacy campaigns? Well, I believe all of that combines to a real important opportunity for us to turn the page. I believe we really are entering a moment where that concept of broadcast, that one-to-many model of defining how we communicate and how we encourage participation in the political process that I think everybody in this room cares about, is no longer going to not only be accepted, it may be even less affordable than the alternative of doing the harder thing, of building campaigns around the audiences that you're trying to reach, truly understanding what motivates them and will encourage them into participating and actually participating with your brand and your organization. How do you build that relationship? And I believe that making that happen, we're already seeing from the private sector, excuse me, a lot of the pieces that need to be put in place. McKinsey's done a lot of research on this. They've boiled it down into three things. The first, it's about data. Collect all your interactions with an individual. Collect all the publicly available data available about an individual. Discern patterns within the data and discern preferences. Now, in the 2012 cycle, the President Obama's campaign did an excellent job bringing some of that into the political process. They iterated forward, but I don't think the vision has been fully realized yet. I think there's still that imperative for us to reach the potential of what data enables us to do. And I think you've heard some of the speakers talk about that today. Second, it's about design. Are we truly making user experiences, building user experiences that are user-centric, that are around the use cases, specifically around use cases, and the user profiles that we truly want to activate? Are we really thinking about it in such a way that we're lowering the barrier to participation and engagement and action that we want them to have? And that concept, again, not revolutionary for the people in this room, but for people who have operated their entire careers in a industry that's dominated by a one-size-fits-all, a one-to-many model, that's revolutionary. So the third is, how do you then consistently deliver content and calls to action that are most highly relevant to the people that you're trying to activate? And I look at, is there anybody else in the private sector that's already doing that? I think we've already got a model. They really do get me. So at the RNC, we're actively building out a data platform, the technology infrastructure, and the teams in place to actually meet this challenge. We've launched our own incubator within the RNC. We've opened an office in Silicon Valley and staffed it with an engineering team. We've transformed how the RNC is operating internally in Washington, D.C. and in offices around the country. And we're actively rolling out products to our campaigns, analytics, data, technology, to make them better in 2014. And then we're going to continue to iterate forward. And for the first time, I'm going to publicly show what some of that platform looks like. As you can see, we've built a lot. Got some work to do. Now, we're 5 months away from an election, and so there's a lot of things I would love to come in and talk to you guys about. But I believe, and after that election, I would love to come in and talk more about really what we're doing, because I think what PDF is about is fundamentally people who want to improve our participation, people's participation in the electoral process. And so I think that's a fundamental imperative for me, and that's why I've been a part of this for a long time, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to come talk to you. Thank you for having me.